This is a massive season for Arsenal, probably the biggest ever since Mikel Arteta has come to the club. So in today's video, we're going to be doing some predictions, looking at how Arsenal may look this season, whilst also a bit of transfer news too, which could be quite exciting. But before I begin, if you are new here, please hit the subscribe and the like as well, it'd be greatly appreciated. But there's no doubt about it, Gunners. This is a big season for Mikel Arteta. The expectations, I don't think, have ever been as high. We haven't won a major trophy yet. We're about 3 years into challenging for the title, being in the title race. I think this probably is our 4th season now. And it's going to look quite ridiculous if we come at the end of it with none of that big trophy. We need it. The players want it. The players need it. And I think this season can be the season. So we're going to start and we're going to look at the squad, and I want to know what you guys feel. When you look at the Arsenal squad now, if we were not to make any more signings, where is your confidence? Do you feel like, yes, this team is more than enough to go and win a Premier League title, go and challenge really well in the Champions League and get to a final? Do you feel that way? Or do you feel sort of underwhelmed and sort of annoyed at the Arsenal squad currently? Because I think we've got a great squad. I think we've got a great squad which can compete. But when I look at the starting 11, from the last 2 seasons, I don't think we've improved other than Martin Zubimendi and probably Victor Gyökeres. They are the only 2 signings, I think, in the last 2 seasons who can come into this team with no competition and start week in, week out. And that's not a good thing. Ricardo Calafiori, Marino, Mosquera, these are all phenomenal signings, Madueke as well. But do you look at them and be like, you should be starting every single week? That's my biggest problem. Look at Liverpool. They've got players like Florian Wirtz who coming in, and you can guarantee he'll be starting every week. Same with Ekitike. You can look at him and be like, yes, he's going to start every week. Kirkes as well. They are making the sort of signings where you can be like, yes, Liverpool are getting level raises and floor and ceiling raises. Can I say the same for Arsenal? Not really. But does that change where I think we will sort of end the season? No, I genuinely believe this Arsenal squad is strong enough to go and win the Premier League. Because I feel the only thing that is really stopping us is, unfortunately, referees and dodgy decisions alongside injuries. Those are the 2 things where I look at Arsenal and be like, if that happens to our key players, do we have enough firepower? And that's where I say we've made more signings to raise the floor of the squad rather than the ceiling. For example, if Gabriel gets injured, we've got someone like Mosquera that can step in. If Zubimendi gets injured, Norgard is more than adequate. He's been pretty strong in pre-season. Havertz, you've got Gyökeres and vice versa. Saka, you've got Madueke. You've got enough firepower to look at the Arsenal squad and be like, yes, there can be injuries and we can be okay. We may not be amazing, but we won't see the drop-offs we saw last season to the point of Marino having to play in the number 9 position. Fingers crossed. But I genuinely believe I'm putting us higher as title challengers due to the fact that our squad has got stronger and our starting 11 look fitter than ever. But before I carry on and talk about the transfer stuff as well, a massive shout out to the guys at Dragon Jersey who continue to sponsor my videos. I've seen, again, like a lot of you guys are getting the kits and it is genuinely appreciated. You can use code Fanatics for 10% off and get Arsenal kits from the past, Arsenal kits from now. But I really, really do recommend them. But let us carry on and sort of talk about this Arsenal squad and this feeling, because I know I've talked to a lot of Arsenal fans and I've got the feeling that there's disappointment that we haven't got enough players in the starting 11 to push on. And I share that disappointment. But I look at the squad depth and I feel very, very happy with that. I look at players that can genuinely come in and make an impact. And maybe looking at the likes of Leandro Trossard, who actually, in terms of the transfer news, was approached by Aston Villa and they're looking to potentially do a deal with Leon Bailey leaving and with Jacob Ramsey leaving. They need extra firepower, and someone like Leandro Trossard makes sense. You're looking at Reece Nelson still in the squad. Arsenal have got to get these sales right. I'm even sort of jumping over my words here because I cannot stress enough how Arsenal need to get the sales right, and not just any sort of sales. They need to get good deals. I was looking at something. Nicolas Anelka in 1999 to the 2000 season is Arsenal's 2nd highest sale. That cannot be acceptable at any club, let alone at Arsenal Football Club, that you can only sell one player, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, since the 2000s at a high price. You cannot. That is criminal. How can we expect to stay at the top, to be competitive, to sign the best players, if we as an institution cannot sell players for good prices? I look at someone like Fabio Vieira, who we got for 30 million to 40 million pounds. He's got to be going for around 25 to 30 million pounds at the very least. I look at someone like Reece Nelson. You're looking at the other players. I saw Dango Ouattara, no disrespect to him. He's going for 40 million all the way from Bournemouth to Brentford. If we can't get ourselves anywhere near 20, 15, 20 for Nelson, that's an embarrassment. for Arsenal Football Club. So when I look at the transfer front and I look at the Arsenal squad, that is what is stopping us from even getting in an Eze, a Leao, or Rodrigo, because we're not selling quick enough and we're not selling for good enough money. It just, that is my biggest issue. I love the Arsenal squad depth. I think we have a lot of firepower. Our starting 11 is already at a very good level, barring that left-hand side, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail a bit later. I feel quite confident. I feel quite happy. But when I look at the way this transfer window has gone, yes, like I said, the floor has been raised. We've got a couple of guys like Zubimendi who will raise the ceiling. Gyökeres coming. He's a great player to have in the centre forward position. But I look at the players that are still here. Carl Jacob Hein. We've got Kepa now. We've got Tommy Setford, the third choice keeper. Hein has to be gone soon. Reece Nelson. Sambi Lokonga is still an Arsenal player. I even saw him doing media duties and I was like, wow, we still got Sambi here. And this is no disrespect to those players because they have hearts and obviously they want to be getting out. And we just can't afford that right now. Look, someone like Eze, somebody we want. Tottenham are able to move quicker because we haven't got those sales done. And this is the current theme that is just not good enough. It just quite literally isn't good enough at this point in the window. I think there's only 18 days to go. And 18 days is not a lot of time, Arsenal fans. I'm telling you right now, for the amount of players we need to go, it would need a flurry of good news all day after day after day whilst the Premier League is going on. And can we trust the club? I think we have every right not to be able to trust the club. I saw that interview from Zinchenko, and I want to know your thoughts on that Zinchenko interview as well, because that took me by surprise. I was looking at Alexander Zinchenko, and I was thinking, this guy is getting on with his business, but he comes out with an interview saying that was the worst season of his life, not trust by the manager, how his kids looked at him and they were feeling upset seeing their dad not on the pitch. And I sympathise with him. Zinchenko was so integral to where we've got as a club in terms of raising the technical level with Jesus when they both came in. But football comes around in circles. You're used and then you're not used. It's really cruel, but that timing of that sort of biography coming out and the sort of news coming out that he's happy to sit on his contract for one more year, it just simply doesn't make sense. And I know there's reports about Porto's interest, but Zinchenko won't be doing him any favours just sitting on his contract. He's not going to get the game time he deserves. I want for him to go to a club where he can play week in, week out and get the football he wants to get. At Arsenal, it's not going to happen. It genuinely is not going to happen, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing for him, but we've moved past him as a club, and he's there on 150k per week, and that is not me disrespecting him, saying he's not worth anything, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of wages we need to get off the bill. We're looking at players like Rodrigo, like Eze, who probably will be on like 250 to 300,000 pounds per week, if we're being genuinely honest. They're going to command that sort of wages. So someone like Zinchenko on 150 grand is going to impact how much we can give them. So anyway, Gunners, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your predictions. I think we could go and win a title. I think we've got enough in terms of squad depth to do really well. But we need to get a move on sales. We need to get that star-studded left winger in. And then I'll be looking at this season like it's genuinely ours to lose.